This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Welcome to ASEAN In Focus. I'm Nea Mangawang, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines. Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad vows to scrap a project to build a high-speed railway to Singapore. Bahrain assures the Philippines of its support for Manila's efforts to counter violent extremism, forge economic partnerships, and promote the welfare of its overseas workers. And Kim Jong-un impersonator Howard X arrives in Singapore to pose as tourist attractions ahead of a historic summit between the North Korean leader and U.S. President Donald Trump. Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad said Monday he was scrapping a project to build a high-speed railway to Singapore in an ominous sign for the neighbors' famously fractious relationship. Mahathir, who won a surprise election victory this month against Najib Razak's long-ruling coalition, is seeking to repair the country's finances, which he says deteriorated dramatically after the former government became embroiled in a huge financial scandal. The leader said it was a final decision to scrap plans for the bullet train line between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore, which had been agreed on several years ago and was expected to cut travel times to 90 minutes from 5 hours by road today. The 92-year-old premier said it is not beneficial. He said that the project is going to cost Singapore a huge sum of money, but they will make no money at all from the operation. Mahathir said he was not sure how long his decision would take to implement, adding that they have to talk to Singapore as they have an agreement with them. Asked if Singapore had been informed of his decision, he said he doesn't know. Malaysia, he said, may have to pay as much as 500 million ringgit in compensation. Singapore's Transport Ministry did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Staying in Malaysia, authorities said Monday they have seized a record 1.2 tons of crystal methamphetamine that was shipped from Myanmar, hidden in tea packets, the latest huge drugs haul in Southeast Asia. 6 people were arrested after the drugs were found during an operation by customs officers on May 22 at Port Klang on the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. Customs Director General Subramaniam Tolasi said the stash was worth 71 million ringgit, equivalent to $18 million, and had been shipped in a container from Yangon in Myanmar. It was the latest massive crystal meth seizure in Southeast Asia, as the notorious Golden Triangle, an ungovernable border zone that crosses Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, and China, experiences a boom in production. Subramaniam told reporters the crystal meth haul was the biggest ever in Malaysia in terms of value and weight. The official believes the drugs were for the local market and it is the work of a local criminal syndicate working with a Myanmar criminal gang. 3 Malaysians and 3 Myanmar nationals aged between 22 and 48 years had been arrested in connection with the haul. Under Malaysia's tough anti-narcotics laws, they could face the death penalty if found guilty of trafficking. Meanwhile, customs officers also found heroin weighing 750 grams and about 1 million contraband cigarettes. Myanmar in particular has become a major supplier of meth, with producers in its conflict-riddled northeast pumping out narcotics for Southeast Asia and beyond. Meanwhile, China's voiced strong dissatisfaction after 2 U.S. warships sailed by an island claimed by Beijing in the disputed South China Sea. On Sunday, 2 U.S. Navy warships, the U.S. Navy's Higgins and Antietam warships, a destroyer and cruiser respectively, sailed near the South China Sea islands. The maneuvers were held near the Paracel Islands chain. This has angered Beijing just as President Donald Trump seeks China's continued cooperation with the denuclearization of North Korea. While this operation was planned months in advance and similar operations have become routine, it becomes at a particularly sensitive time. Satellite photos taken on May 12 shows China appear to have deployed surface-to-air or anti-ship missiles onto one of the islands. Meanwhile, state-run news agency Xinhua said the two vessels were expelled from the waters. The U.S. military did not comment on Sunday's maneuvers called freedom of navigation. The South China Sea islands are disputed by several nations, including the Philippines and Vietnam. About $5 trillion in shipborne trade passes through the South China Sea every year. The Pentagon has long complained that China is building up its military presence in the region and constructing artificial islands that could be used as strategic operation bases. To other news, Myanmar says dozens of Rohingya Muslims who fled to neighboring Bangladesh have returned voluntarily and will be sent to a transit center pending resettlement. A total of 58 Rohingya have crossed back into Myanmar after they could, quote-unquote, no longer find it tenable to live in Bangladesh refugee camps, according to a statement published in state media Monday from the office of Myanmar's de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The statement said they were detained for failing to follow proper repatriation procedures until the decision to, quote-unquote, pardon them and allow them to resettle in Myanmar. The statement said refugees would be temporarily housed in a transit camp. Suu Kyi's spokesman, Zhao Tai, said the returnees entered Myanmar in different stages over the last 4 months. Myanmar did not give any information on the group's members, and Bangladeshi authorities said they were unaware of any details. ASEAN In Focus will be right back. Please stay with us.
Welcome to the garden. A world that recaptures the value of life, creating your moments, kindling your passion, worth reliving over and over. This is your world, your life, your garden.
Welcome back. Bahrain has assured the Philippines of its support for Manila's efforts to counter violent extremism, forge economic partnerships, and promote the welfare of its overseas workers. The assurances were given to Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano in his meetings with ranking Bahraini officials during his 2-day official visit to Manama. Our EBC correspondent Lorleen Kalimbling reports.
We are here at Bahrain Conference Center, Crown Plaza, witnessing the visit of His Excellency Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter S. Cayetano with the Filipino community here in Bahrain. As the current Foreign Affairs Secretary, Mr. Cayetano continues building stronger connections with the country's traditional allies and promising relations with the new partner nations. No greater love is there but for someone to give his life for his loved ones. These words started a brief but meaningful message of our current Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Alan Peter S. Cayetano. He also conveyed the message of our dear President, Mr. Rodrigo Duterte, instructing him to fight for all Filipinos all over the world. During the open forum, appreciations are mentioned for his good leadership, suggestions for several projects voiced out, some points and certain issues have been raised. His Excellency answered all queries as per the law of the land, as per labor code, and as per contract.
And the way that the Deputy Prime Minister of Kuwait described now is that we have one spirit and that we're interwoven in the fabric of their community. Meaning they cannot imagine not having Filipinos among them. Especially here in Bahrain, where the spirit of kindness is almost the same or is the same.
The Filipino communities in the kingdom are rest assured of the help whenever problems or issues arise. Just keep the department informed. This is your Eagle News correspondent from Bahrain, Lauren Kalimwig, and I am 1 with 25.
Let's head now to Vietnam. Hanoi attracted $860 million in foreign direct investment, or FDI, in the first 5 months of 2018. This is according to the director of the Municipal Department of Planning and Investment, Win Man Nguyen. Now, of the amount, $529.2 million was registered to invest in 225 new projects, while over $131 million was added to 48 existing projects, and $199.52 million was invested in domestic companies' stakes. Nguyen said the city has carried out 27 non-state capital projects with combined investment of 27 trillion Vietnamese dong, equivalent to $1.19 billion. In addition, 13 projects were permitted to increase investment capital by 1.98 trillion dong, or $87.2 million. Last year, the capital city drew up to $3.4 billion in FDI. Meanwhile, Thailand's Prime Minister has suggested that Thai citizens adjust to the nation's 5% economic growth rate. He has instructed all related units to assist people in catching up with the world's new technologies. Relaying Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha's message, government spokesperson Lieutenant General Sansern Kaukamnerd told the media that the Premier is pleased with the kingdom's 4.8% economic growth in the first quarter of 2018. He said this is a clear indication of Thailand's continuous growth. The Prime Minister pointed out that the growth will result in increased employment, higher cash flow, and more trade. He stressed that the government prioritizes the well-being of low and medium-income earners who make up the majority of the Thai population. General Prayut then underlined the essential role of technology in shaping society, saying residents should pay attention to the possibility of technology replacing human labor. General Prayut said that the career security of each individual may very well depend on their understanding of new technology and how it relates to their profession. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned.
Wala pa nagko-collect ng mga kwento gamit ng magagaling na health professionals in our country for the past 500 or more years. So, kung ano mang ginagawa natin ngayon, kung wala magsusulat niyan, walang makakaalala. Hindi lang sa Medical Museum for free, pati yung gamutan namin for the past 12-15 years, libre na lahat eh. Gusto ko lang, gumaling ka, makasama mo pamilya mo, humaba buhay mo. Pag nagkakaedad tayo, tumitigas na lahat eh. So tumitigas siya, lumalagutok, hindi mo na ma-spread. So merong mga special techniques kung bakit namamanhid, may mga positions para lumuwag yung mga nerves. Mula sa aming Medical Museum, ako si Doc Willie Ong, kaisa ng approved sa serbisyo publiko.
Welcome back. A Philippine cabinet official described Boracay as Wild Wild West as he updates Hawaii residents on the island's closure. Our EBC Hawaii correspondent Alfred Acenas files this report.
Interior and Local Government Officer in Charge Eduardo Anio presented an update on Boracay during a town hall meeting hosted by the Philippine Consulate General in Honolulu last weekend.
The temporary closure will give Boracay Island the time to heal and recoup its marine structures, original corals, pristine waters, and its ecosystem in general. It is inevitable that the island of Boracay needs time and space to recover and recoup lost glory. Piecemeal rehabilitation is no longer feasible, since it is inconceivable to be undergoing road repairs, improvement of drainage, fixing problems in the sewage system, and demolition of illegal structures, among others.
Anio stressed that, once upon a time, the island getaway had lots of potential to boost the Philippines' tourism industry.
Supposedly, Boracay should be our version of the Waikiki Beach. In 2003, it was featured in Time magazine that, bago pa rin yung Boracay, wala pang mga structures. Sabi ng Time Magazine, Boracay will be the next world tourist destination. But unfortunately, we did not have any plan on how to develop Boracay to be a tourist world-class destination.
However, various problems began surfacing but with little or no intervention.
Actually, in 2008, na-reach na natin yung carrying capacity, which is about 30,000. 30,000 lang dapat ang carrying capacity niya. But now, in one day, in Boracay, there are 110,000. So times 4. Times 4. So nagkaroon ng maraming building.
The DILGOIC even presented some disturbing statistics. We need to warn that some of his statements might be too graphic for some of our audience.
A human being produces 2.5 kilos of waste every day. So 110,000 is about 110 to 115,000 tons of waste every day. The local government can only haul 30 tons a day. So meron pang 60 tons accumulation every day. Ang tawag nga natin sa Boracay, Smoky Mountain with the beach. The establishments were hoarding the waste. Tinatago nila yung waste. Pagdating ng gabi, binubomba nila para ilabas. Because they're not connected into the sewerage system. Out of the 1,080 establishments that we have audited, only 18% were connected to the sewerage system. The others, they're throwing it to the sea or connected to the drainage system that is intended for the flood or for the rainwater.
So, what are some of the government's plans for rehabilitation?
That is why we are now doing massive simultaneous demolition. And then the road, we are widening the road. The road is only just 6 meters, 3 meters for each lane. So now we are doubling it into 12 meters para meron tayong sidewalk and bicycle lane. What we want to do in Boracay is make walking as the primary mode of transportation. And the second is biking, and the third will be the use of e-tracks. Out of the 9 wetlands, only 4 remain. The 5, tumayo ang mall, tumayo ang hotel, restaurant, they just destroy the wetlands. So we will restore the wetlands.
There were 7 key result areas or milestones that Anyo stressed. Those included providing social safety nets, ensuring health and sanitation, decongestion, and enforcing the rule of law, all of which his department aims to accomplish by the target date of October 26, 2018.
Within that 6 months period, we hope to present to the President, to the public, that we have accomplished our job, and again, Boracay is back to its pristine state as before. Thank you. So it's a wild, wild west in Boracay.
6 months of closure may seem like a lot of time to fix this issue, but it's not. Funding to fix the problem may be a hurdle, but is necessary to bring back revenue to their current hurting tourism economy. Their government needs to be more proactive and come up with an innovative approach or ways to protect their water and its environment. The infrastructure requires a major overhaul and improved communication with their public government and private officials to properly expedite the issue at hand. Meanwhile, here at home in Waikiki, we have our own set of issues as well. Back in August 2015, there was a sewage spill on the famous Waikiki area. That became the biggest issue of the year. Heavy rain associated with a major storm caused debris to clog up our drains and manhole covers and causes the overflow of sewage spill into the Alawai Canal and onto the beaches in Waikiki, where the beaches were all closed in that area. The Hawaii State Department of Health and the City Environmental Services are always on alert and aware of issues like this, and will continue to be on alert. And when such thing happens, a warning to the public will be distributed in a timely manner.
Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Alfred Desenas for Eagle News. I am one with 25.
Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un impersonator Howard X arrives in Singapore to pose at tourist attractions ahead of a historic summit between the